Welcome to Lessons from the Field, the podcast where we dig deep with restaurant industry leaders to uncover the strategies, insights, and stories behind their success. Whether it's operational excellence, guest satisfaction, or leveraging data for growth, we're here to bring you actionable lessons straight from the experts.
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Doolan-Caney, and I'm so glad you're able to join us today for an exciting webinar. First, thank you to our sponsor today, Skooks. Skook is a learning management system that keeps your learners curious about letting you deliver more kinds of content wherever they are, from the front line to the corporate office. And by making learning easy, accessible, rewarding, and fun, Skooks helps you get everyone more excited about their career development. We're excited to partner with Skooks on this webinar and bring insights on why investments in your team will provide better business results. So thank you, Skooks. Today we have Christina Briggs, Director of Training and Development at Shipley's Donuts, Kelly McCutcheon, Group Director in Training and Development at Whataburger, and John Isbell, VP of New Restaurant Openings at Portillo as well. So I want to talk about the first topic is around setting brand standards and understanding what you're known for. A little bit around, from the training perspective, how do you establish expectations of delivering that brand promise and delivering service, quality, consistency, for example? John, let's start with you.
We preach QSAC. It's QSAC, and it's quality, service, attitude, and cleanliness, right? And it's with everything we do. And so we have 4 values. One of our biggest values is greatness, and it is literally all about QSAC. And so it's, when you talk about the sandwiches we make, how does that mean QSAC, right? So we continually talk about it with everything that we do. It's in all of our training materials. It's in just our regular everyday vernacular, so that people who've been working for 40 years in Chicago are getting the same language that we use. We did a grand opening today in Arlington, Texas. And so those team members all get the same language, they get the same values, they get the same everything. So consistency is such a huge thing with us. And all of our training teams that go out, they know it, they live it, they love it, and they preach it. And so it's not like it's something new that they hear. They're like, oh, QSAC, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then they just go do it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Kelly, how about you?
Yeah, I love that you, John, that you put those in order, right? So you always have that prioritization. At Whataburger is a 73-year brand. We're known for bold flavors. We're known for endless customization, but we're also known for meaningful communities. And being with this brand for just going on 10 months, it's been astounding to me as a fan, and part of that community now to work for the brand as well. I just think we have some of the best fans, people that want to get, married in our restaurants, get engaged, showers, things like that. And we just keep in mind that the experience that we give to our customers, it will never exceed the experience that we give to our family members, what we call our employees, our family members. And so for us, that starts even before day one. Something that we recently implemented, an idea from our team in a restaurant, was calling new hires the day before they start to make sure that they feel that hospitality, that we know that somebody will be waiting for them. We just relaunched and rebranded a new hourly training program where we were really cognizant of how much hands-on and face time people would get, because we're in the hospitality business. We want to lead first with hospitality.
I love that. And you and I talked a little bit about how important that first 30 days is for a new hire. First, even 10 days, first 5 days. Tell us a little bit, walk in on that a little bit more, what you did there, Kelly.
One of the things that we, that my team and really our operations team did is take a look at how much time people are spending behind a computer, right? And we've all been there, but that's not really where the learning happens or the experience happens. And so we were intentional to shake things up even within the first 5 days. And so that first day, being welcomed with somebody at the door, we made sure that, for example, you're training in one position start to finish, so that you feel that sense of accomplishment before you move on to cross training, multitasking, and things like that, and really carrying on that career pathing. So you know what's next for me when I complete that training. What's the next step? And then when I become a trainer, what's the next step? And really being clear about each step along the way, whether it's the first 3 days or 30 days.
I love that. That's great. And we'll dig into that a little bit more here. And Christina, I'm really interested in hearing from you. You've come from a brand that has really been around for a really, really long time. And maybe share a little bit of the background of Shipley's and where they are now. And then, you have been brought in really to really establish the expectations of that service, the quality and consistency, and build it out in your growth model. Why don't you share a little bit more about that at Shipley's?
Sure. Shipley's is a multi-generational family business that's over 86 years old, started in 1936 with Mr. Shipley back in the day. He passed it down to his son, and then finally the grandchildren. And Peak Rock Capital purchased Shipley Donuts back in 2021. So I was brought in. Ours is, as you said, Melissa, I was brought in to establish that as really creating the recipes and transferring the institutional knowledge from our extremely tenured staff that we love and appreciate all their hard work that they've put in for many years, and put that on paper so that everyone for today and the future can deliver the same quality and service, hospitality that we were founded on.
Incredible. We're in the business of looking all of this, and you see the turnover numbers, and we oftentimes think about the turnover and how bad it is, but our industry is so beautiful because we have a lot of stories like that of people really building their careers and staying in one place for a long time. And I love pausing to really appreciate that. And that brings me into, a question is, you guys have such cross-generational diversity within your brands, right? You have the new employee that you're just hoping around that stays after that day 5, right? We look at our turnover in those first 30 days and how that's really impactful. How do you, with such a diverse employee base, how do you consistently deliver the customer's expectation? Because it is across the board, you're training such diverse employee sphere. Christina, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think just with as many generations as we have working in our system, it's keeping our mission in mind and making sure whatever we're talking about, we know exactly what the purpose is and what our objective is, and sticking to it so we don't derail from our main objectives.
Yeah, I love that. You had said too, it's like, keep it really simple, right? What are you solving for? What do people see? And I think that's the other piece you had mentioned to me earlier. It's like, what your more tenured employees see and miss versus what your new employees see and miss, and marrying that, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that'll probably come up in later down in the conversation around technology and building that out, especially around cross-generational. Kelly, you come from a younger brand in your previous role to a 75-year-plus brand. Tell us a little bit about kind of that, honoring the old and new, and what you're learning from that yourself.
Yeah. So to your point, I just came from a newer brand, and where I worked for a decade, and that was something I really wore with pride. And then it comes with Whataburger, where I'm Kelly. I worked at my last job for a decade, and they're like, "Oh, I worked here for 18 years, 22 years, 34 years, 42 years." Okay, that you're redefining tenure. Something I have learned in my experience very quickly was I don't know that there are necessarily new ideas. I think we just brush off old ideas and re-implement them. And I learned this because as I was talking about, well, we should do this, or bringing, here are my training cards. Yeah, we did that. We did that 18 years ago in the spring, and this is what happened, and just having those kinds of conversations. But what I will tell you is something that is just at the heart of Whataburger is really honoring our founding values while looking ahead and innovating. And so I'm just really honored to work with such an open-minded team that is, has these really deep and strong roots and knows where we've been and, knows our tradition. But as we look to what's next, isn't afraid to give something a go because we're in a totally different world. I would also just say another thing that I've discovered is whether someone has been here for 18 months or 18 years, we all have a lot more in common, I think, than what separates us. And so focusing on those commonalities and just our founding values has really helped establish just like you said, that single generation, if you will.
Getting everybody excited, right? Getting the people that are been there for years really excited about the new, as well as, leaving a space for new ideas and new thoughts. It's tricky, but under change management, I think, what really comes to mind with me, especially with Whataburger, is like, it's the brand that really honors their heritage. John, tell us a little bit about how do you tackle having multi-generations in your training programs? How do you handle that?
Thing that ever happened to the training departments of restaurant companies is Facebook, because everybody is on Facebook, right? So it took the computer complexity piece out of it. My grandma was on Facebook, right? She can do all that stuff now. So everybody has a smartphone, almost everybody can get on social media. So we used to say, oh, don't do computer training because the older generation won't be able to do it. Some of my oldest generation are the ones who are showing the younger generation how to get on, like the tablets and how to do that. And so I think there's two important things. One, it's have training that meets all learning styles. So when you develop a program, make sure it's visually pleasing, it's audio pleasing, it's short enough to keep people's short attention spans, and that there's some sort of activity part to it. So don't go, well, we'll make this for the visual learners, and we'll do this over here just make everything all inclusive of all those learning styles, and then you never go wrong. Nobody's ever going to go, oh man, I hate that it had an extra learning style in it, right? Like just give really great short training programs. And then the other piece that I think we do really well, we introduced a program to develop future leaders before there's a position open. So we have what's called the Ignite program, and you have to apply for it. You've got to get in it. We do career interest days every quarter in the restaurant, so the team members now know the kind of programs that we have. They go through the program, and so they're ready and developed before the position opens. So now when you promote them, there's no lag time. There's no anything there. They just step into the position and they can perform. What this has done, though, is it got us away from the tap on the shoulder type of promotion, where we used to go, hey, I think you'd be a great manager. We got a slot open up. Why don't you come on over here? And it gives everybody the opportunity to apply. It gives everybody the opportunity to get developed. And we have people who said, I never wanted to be a manager before. And now they're like assistant general managers with us. And they've gone through this program so fast because it feels like now it's just all inclusive. It's for everyone. Doesn't matter age, whatever. Like I've got crew chiefs who've been with us for 20 years, never wanted to do anything but be a crew chief. And now they're in my assistant general manager Ignite program. And it just, and you hear those stories, it's like people actually care about us now, and it's just it's amazing when you hear things like that. So.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And you are building careers there, right? You're building the individual, you're honoring the individual, but you're also honoring their career. And that's something that I know as an industry we've always really been focused on is, we can create careers here. And I love that story. I love how you guys are tackling it. That's fantastic. So let's move on to a different matter. And I know we had a pre-meeting when we were talking about this, but really understanding what, excuse me, when you think about, all the things that we had talked about before of the training, the execution, making sure things are consistent, how, we say we need to do these things, but how are you monitoring team execution? How are you making sure that it's driving performance?
We obviously do guest surveys. We have what's called Portillo's Listens. It's powered by an external company. And it really does ask those questions. It's overall satisfaction, it's speed of service, it's those things that and we know that it's just a snapshot for that moment, right? But we really drive for people to actually fill those things out because we do take them seriously. We also just have our restaurant support center go out. They know what they're looking for. They know what the guest experience is supposed to look like. They give us the feedback when they don't get that. And luckily we have internal fans of our restaurant that go there a lot. And so we have feedback all the time, and we continue to get feedback all the time.
How about you, Kelly?
Yeah, when you think about results and marinating on this question, right, there are really only two results: up, right? Sales and profit. And I think that's what a lot of us in the business are looking to move in order to indicate that something is successful. And so my advice and my platform is really focus on measuring the methods that lead to those results, especially in training. That can certainly be, John was talking about guest sentiment, looking at employee sentiment, right? And the employee net promoter score. We do things like measure how many of our restaurants, what percentage of restaurants in the region have a certified trainer in them. Similar, John, to your career pathing, right? That's the first step in taking on more leadership responsibilities is becoming a trainer. And then we correlate that with, okay, how many openings are in that region, right? Do you have the people to help facilitate, not just from a manager growth standpoint, but from a trainer standpoint, right? These are the folks that are your next round of managers, but they're also the folks that are going to go and open your restaurants as trainers and get that leadership experience and travel for the first time with your company and things like that. So measuring some of those finer methods helps to pave the way to those long-term results of sales and profitability.
Well, we're really big over here about measuring results that move into sales and profit. Yeah. And I love that because I think, a lot of times we focus really around, what are we doing from a training perspective? How are we training? At the end of the day, if it's not improving sales and profit and you're not moving as a team on that, doesn't really matter. Is the guest experience is left with, more things that they wish that they could have, or, the restaurants aren't clean or the service isn't good, that in turn impacts sales and profitability, right? And so training is such a key area of this and really being able to make sure that you're successful. And I see that in you guys and your brands is really measuring that. There's a lot of talk about with a very competitive labor market, how to add new technologies to potentially reduce staff or to make it easier. How do you marry this two? And where is your company's focus and stance on using technology with also the offset of continuing to have a great experience utilizing the team that you have?
Yeah, so for me, technology and for our company, our literal IT's mantra is, if it doesn't help operations and the guest experience, we don't do it. We do a lot of things on the back end, but only if it makes the manager's ability to do their job easier so that they can spend more time out on the floor, right? Because that's where they need to be, developing, training, coaching, working with guests and all those places. So, predictive scheduling, predictive ordering rather, scheduling that actually just tells them, here's what you did last time, here's all the shifts that you have open. And so we've cut scheduling down from hours to a really short amount of time every week now. And so they're not spending time on scheduling, they're spending time out on the floor. Ordering is pretty easy now because we know what we sold, we know what's coming up. It's all automated stuff. So we put automation in only to enhance the guest experience and the team member experience and give our managers an easier time in the back so they're back out in the front.
And John, did you tell me that you're 100% staffed in 90% of your restaurants? Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't think it has to do with technology, I'll be honest with you, but we just opened in Arlington and we hired initially 150 people to open this big old restaurant, but our average unit volumes are 8 million plus. But the reason I think people come and the reason they stay and the reason we hire well is we live our values. It's family, greatness, energy, and fun, and those four things. And however we talk to each other is we do those values. And so, during COVID, we didn't lay anybody off. We didn't close any restaurants. In fact, we opened restaurants during COVID. We paid for insurance for anybody who wanted to voluntarily be furloughed because they were a little bit afraid to work. We gave food cards out and gift cards out and paid for everybody's equipment and anything that you would need. We just made sure our family members had. And I think we pay for insurance for our team members. We have insurance for the team members who work, even 3/4 of the time. So we tried to treat them like family because we called them family, and that's what they are. And so I think that's why we don't have a hard time staffing, is because we treat them not like staff, we treat them like family.
Yeah. And, you mentioned when we were talking too, and this really, stood out to me. And I think for all of us is people want to work where they feel like they're winning. And you guys have really built a culture of winning, right? Yeah. So, this unit that we just opened in Arlington, just for an example, we've done a soft opening. We started last Monday, so a week ago yesterday. By Saturday, a soft opening just means we don't advertise. We just open the doors and say, if you're driving by and you want to come in, come on in, right? So we literally didn't. So by Tuesday, we opened out Monday afternoon. By Tuesday, we were already to the door. We were already cars wrapped because of Facebook. By Saturday, we were like the number 5 or 6 restaurant in the company for sales that day. And so it just goes to show the raving fans that we have that are also here in Texas, thank God. And like you said, it's winning. It's these big volumes, these big days, and they just love being part of that buzz and that energy. Yeah, that's incredible. So tell us a little bit about the role technology's playing in Shipley's growth potential.
Sure. I think it's similar to John. If it doesn't make operations better, then it's probably not the right move. So there's certainly the automation side to make our team members, our managers, our franchisees' life easier, and give them the metrics or give them what they need to do the job better and focus on the hospitality and the quality of our product. As you mentioned, raving fans, folks will definitely tell us if it's not the Shipley donut they remember having as a child. So that's been our biggest focus, whether it's whatever it is, getting them back into the shop to focus on that, predictive ordering, scheduling, AI for loss prevention, and accessibility for our training platforms. But I think maybe a difference is we're franchise based. So having those business cases of how it's worked has been critical. And being able to say, hey, this AI, surveillance system, it's not just a surveillance system, it's going to do audits for you. And by the way, our longtime folks that have put it in have unfortunately found team members that they have had for years, but have caught them stealing a lot of money, and we can help you save X dollars, or if this is happening in your location, how much it could save you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I can't imagine. Kelly, how about you? How do you enhance hospitality? I noticed that Whataburger's putting some new technology in. How do you make sure that you're focused on hospitality while building out new technology for your customer experience?
Right, so you've been to a location with a kiosk, is what you're saying. So I believe, and I think Whataburger believes that people still crave the relational aspects of interaction, of work, of hospitality. And so technology should be there to enhance hospitality, not replace it. And as an example, we're selective about, for example, where we place our kiosks. And one of the strategies and the intentionality behind that is make it available for folks that would prefer that, people that like the self-checkout, people that like the mobile order, so that those that do go to the register are able to spend a little bit more time engaging with that order, asking questions versus the self-serve experience. So again, providing it as an alternative for those who want it, so that you can then provide additional hospitality for those that are looking for that experience.
So we just did this, we just released this within our workforce intelligence reporting that to turn over one hourly employee on average is 2,442. Assistant and shift managers or non-GMs are 9,628, and general managers are 13,591. I always love to talk about this because we as trainers kind of think about this. It's like you think about how many people you're training. From an operational standpoint, you just wonder, how much is this really costing your bottom line? And it's pretty imperative that we pay attention to these as we're budgeting into this next season. I wanted to include one last piece of training and make sure that you got that as well, because you guys are trainers and we'll have just a little bit of time to talk through it. For the back of the house non-management companies with 40 plus hours of training have 21% lower turnover and $7 of sales labor per hour better than those others. And then the back of the house management new hires have 200 plus hours of training, have 15% lower turnover and $6 per better sales per labor hour. And you talk about those are real numbers. Those really show you the impact. And when you start to think about the cost, if you could lower your turnover cost by 21% or 15% respectively, how much would that cost your company, where you can pour it back into training and ops to create a better guest experience? So going into 2024, I'm going to give you guys just 30 seconds. I got to give you power here. Is how does that impact you in 2024 and what you're going to be focused on specifically to win? John?
So a lot of the things that I've already talked about today, we're going to keep doing, right? And we're adding levels of Ignite everywhere that we can to include our restaurant support center. But I mean, these numbers are not surprising. When people know what they're doing and they're better at doing it, they're going to want to stay where they're at, right? And so just continuing to make sure we keep our programs updated. We keep them at a way that people want to consume them. So like even our videos, we're constantly changing. Our training team is just so amazing. And they're making these really cool, quick Twitter-like videos, not Twitter, but Instagram and all those TikTok type of videos to just get people in and out and watch that video really quickly and then go and then get back on the floor. And so just trying to stay up with the times and the people who are using it.
Great. Christina?
Same, to echo John. The numbers aren't surprising. On top of what he's saying, I think people get up and go to work to win. They want to be successful. So investing on the front end is going to continue to be our focus, and making sure that we also provide accessibility to our franchisees and our frontline workers and make it as easy as possible.
That's great. And Kelly?
Well, first of all, John, I can't get the image out of my head of you trying to teach training while flossing for like a, a real video. There's no magic bullet here. For me and for Whataburger, it's training and development. It is, investing in great training, building those relationships, getting hands-on. That in and of itself is a retention program. And then from there, showing that career path, showing that ability to get ready for what's next in your career, and even opening up the door and the possibility that there is a career path. That journey of 1,000 miles beginning with that single step. So we've focused on that in 2023. We're going to double down on that in 2024 as we gear up to open more and more Whataburgers and make more opportunities for people available.
Wow, you guys shared so much. Thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your thoughts and insights and your expertise. I really admire and respect all three of you in your career. I just really am thrilled that you were here. Thank you guys so much and appreciate the time. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Lessons from the Field. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps others like you discover the lessons and grow along with us. For more resources, insights, and behind-the-scenes content, check out Black Box Intelligence in the show notes. Until next time, keep learning, innovating, and delivering unforgettable guest experiences.